So the user that provided this model on the Fusion 360 forum says that he applied the mirror internal, actually not mirror internal, but mirror duplicate, and it turned all boxy. So the question is, of course, why is that? And the experienced user already knows why. But so first of all, there's actually nothing wrong with it looking like boxy, because it's just simply a view mode. And this shows you the layout of the control vertices. And when it's smooth, it shows you the surface structure it actually converts into when you finish the form. But in this case, we couldn't actually finish the form because Fusion 360 would complain, as it does here. It says there's something wrong with the topology. And yes, there certainly is. So let's return and explain these view modes. You should actually model, I'd say, at least 30% in box view mode and not in smooth view mode. And this is just one way to get it. While you're modeling, usually modeling here with edit form enabled, and those three view modes are also here. So while you are modifying your geometry, you can click on either of those. This is a mixed form, but we get to that in a moment, hopefully. So this is in box view mode. Why is it? Let's try to switch it to smooth. It's enabled, but it doesn't do it. So the reason for that is that there is a triangle here. If we delete it, it automatically goes back to smooth because it can convert it now. But obviously there is there's a hole here. So we can try to just fill that with a nice quad face, right? We don't want any triangles in our T-splines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Accept it, and there it converts into a smooth model. But we don't really want this here. This creates usually some surface tension, and you wouldn't want that. And you can actually see that if you go into the utilities here and repair body, it shows you star points. Now, there's a star point here that you can't really do anything about it, but these two aren't really necessary, and you try to avoid these as much as you can. Even if we would click on auto repair now, it wouldn't be able to repair anything because there's no way to do this. We have to do this manually. So let's switch back to box mode, because what I'm doing is easier to see here. I'm simply going to delete this. And what's happening is we actually, if we would want to make another quad face here, we'd have two vertices over, right? Left over. That we couldn't really merge, because then we end up with a triangle. So it's kind of this spiral form, and that's created by this constellation here of these faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply delete these faces. And merge or weld these two vertices. And as you can see, we have one edge here, one edge here, so we could create 1, 2 nice quad faces. So in this case, I'm going to use the bridge tool. I select my first 2 edges, or the first side, and I'm going to select the second side. And I think the default is usually 3 or something else, but make it 2 faces so you have an edge in the middle, and that'll be also our symmetry line. So there are our 2 faces, and I can merge or weld these vertices. Together. All right. So now, if we switch this to smooth, it looks pretty neat. Now, of course, what you want to do, you want to make sure that these edges are nice and in line. That usually provides better geometry. So what I usually do, or often do while I model, is I simply use the Flatten tool and flatten these out. Now, when you try to do this with smooth mode enabled, you can click on flatten, And it doesn't really look like they're flat. It looks like this here, but they really aren't flat, because they are flat in box view mode. Because what this really means, it flattens the control vertices, not your smooth shape. But once you flatten your control vertices, usually that results in a smoother shape, if that makes sense. All right, so this also here looks a little bit out of line. I'll pull this back in. So this is just a little bit adjusting the shape to make it look a little bit more pleasing, hopefully. I'm going to pull this one out a tad. And now we finish form. It converts, and we also don't have this weird looking surface here anymore. And I think I have not shown this, so let me just go back to where we had our triangle. There. If I would have finished form now, we would have had this, and that doesn't really look very clean. So that's exactly the reason why we fix this the way we fix it. Now it doesn't let me go back anymore, only up to a certain point. Okay, but anyway, hopefully this helps.